Yeah, it works. All right, Bertha-Hewitt Bears, how are we doing today? Thank you for coming down. Happy Friday to everyone. So today, we're having this assembly in our gym to talk about a special message. As we know, this past weekend we commemorated a very important time in our history. September 11, 2001, it was a dark day. And we have Jeff here, a friend of ours, who's going to share his experiences and what that means to him and ultimately what that means for our country and all of us in this gym. So let's give Jeff a warm welcome.
Have you ever been so mad that you wanted to hit somebody? Well, I know. And maybe you did. You get in more trouble for doing that. And maybe you didn't. But the thing is, we sometimes get so mad we hit somebody. And we never feel good about it afterwards. But there you go. Now sometimes we might hit a classmate. Sometimes we might hit a brother or a sister. Sometimes, right? But what happens when a whole country hits another whole country? There's no one body that you can hit. Come here, I'm going to hit you. You have to hit something else. And so, a long time ago, another country hit us. But not our body, but a big building, real tall. In fact, 2 buildings, real tall. In fact, 3 buildings, 1 real small. And the building was so big that everybody in our country, everybody in the United States knew about it. Very famous building. We call it the World Trade Center. Very big. And we're very proud of it. And somebody was so mad, they hit the towers. They may as well have been hitting you and I personally. Now the thing about these buildings is that they are so tall, and I'll show you how tall they are. Let's see, you. Come here. I am a building. What's your name? You're a building. Okay. We are in New York City, right? Now there are a lot of buildings in New York City, right? Now, you are a building, and compared to me, the World Trade Center, you're too tall. So you gotta squat down a little. And a little farther, a little farther, a little farther. Okay, that's great. Oh, perfect. Turn your head. There you go. Turn your head this way. All right, perfect. Now, he is now the second tallest building in New York. And I am the top of the building of the World Trade Center. See the difference? See how tall that building is? 110 floors. Okay, you can stand up. Oh, take the elevator. There you go. If you were to lay the 110-story towers down, let it take a nap, it would measure 1/2 mile long. So, if you do not know how long 1/2 mile is, when you get in your car and you leave home, you tell mom or dad or whoever is driving, say, When we drive 1/2 mile, you tell me. And then you see where you are from home. That's how far, that's how long the building is. Very tall. And so when the planes that hit that building, those two buildings, when they flew in, they were going, oh my goodness, look at all these hundreds and hundreds of buildings. Oh, there it is. You can easily see the buildings. And so the planes deliberately ran into our building. It hit us. And everybody on the streets were going, did you just see that? Oh my goodness. Maybe it was an accident. Because airplanes have accidentally hit buildings in New York before. It happens. But then another plane came. Just 15 minutes later, another plane came and hit the second building. Went, oh, wait a minute, now this is a problem. All right, this was no accident. Somebody is really, really mad at us. Now, it didn't matter at the time. What was important was there were people in those planes. And there were people in those buildings, and they were all on fire. And so the firefighters came. There's a lot of fire engines in New York. And they came, and they came, and they came. And the firemen and firewomen. There were firewomen. They had to haul all that heavy equipment too, right? They were equal to the challenge. They had to walk all the way up the stairs of these towers. Walk all the way up, all the way up, all the way up, all the way up. Only 50 more floors to go. You can see how tall the towers are compared to the buildings around it. See how tall? And they had to walk all the way up. You couldn't use an elevator. They weren't working anymore. And so we got to the very, very top. They tried to help people get down. But the fire was so hot that it melted all the beams that were holding the floors together. Now, what surprised the pilots on that plane who were trying to knock the towers over was that it's all glass. It's all glass. And the metal and the steel beams that hold the floors up. So when the planes hit the towers, they went through one window and came out the other side. Well, golly, that wasn't supposed to happen. The towers were supposed to fall over, but they didn't. Now, tell the truth. How many of you have ever drank pop or water or cola with a straw? All right. Now, put your hands. How many of you have ever made a mess by blowing bubbles through your straw? All right, hands down. What nobody knew, even the pilots, was that when the planes hit the building, the plane broke. And all that fuel, all that gas in the planes, and they were loaded with gas to fly to California, they didn't get a big bomb. All that fuel was sent down the elevators shafts, like blowing down straw. That fuel went right down to the ground floor, blew out all the windows downstairs, and then the wind came in through the basement and up like a chimney. This is what caused the fire. And pretty soon the whole thing got weak in the knees. The whole building was like, I can't stand anymore. I can't stand anymore. But people were still trying to get out of the building. And the firefighters and who else?
Firewomen.
The firewomen. They were working their way up. Nobody was afraid. No one was coward. No one said, I'm going to take a coffee break. They were all going up there to help people. But there was smoke everywhere. You could hardly breathe. And you had to take people by the hand and help lead them. But a very slow going. And the building was going, I can't stand much longer. And one of the buildings fell, not over, but on top of each other. Like a stack of pancakes. Just boom, 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 boom. All right? Anybody left in the building was dead. The people who worked there, the firefighters, the fire ladies, they were all dead. Now, you might be wondering, why am I, Jeff, telling you the story? Well, first of all, I live next door to Mr. Kent. All right? I just live over the county line. And second of all, guess who was up on the tower? 100. Oh, half a mile? 110 floors? Right?
Half a mile.
Half a mile. Who do you think was supposed to be half a mile up in that tower that day? Me! Yeah. I was supposed to be up there that day. But, like doctor said, Father John, you drink too much coffee. Too much coffee. Not lots of coffee. But I was on vacation. And so I thought, well, doctor's orders don't matter when you're on vacation. They do. But I was having coffee without a straw. And I was having coffee with this very cup. Okay? This cup is over 20 years old. And I was drinking coffee from it that morning. I was supposed to be on the 110th floor while I was drinking my coffee instead. I was a little late, but I'm on vacation. And while I was drinking coffee, the plane hit. And so I was lucky that I was having coffee because nobody got out of that tower. Okay? So I'm very thankful to get out. But there's some great lessons that I learned that day. One was everybody was super surprised at what happened. We call it shock. I am just shocked at what happened. Okay? We were so stunned. Everybody was. And we could barely move. We could react. We could try to help somebody who was hurting. But then we learned something. If somebody needed help that day, you could not say no. If it was a reasonable request. If somebody needed something, you could not say no. I need help. No. No. Now I feel worse. You couldn't say no. Now that doesn't mean you can directly help them on everything. But so many times when somebody asks you for help, we, including adults and kids, we will say no. because we don't give ourselves time to think what could be the solution. And so if I need shoes, and by the way, I do, mine falling apart. If I need shoes, let's see. Can I have your shoes? You can't say no. But, why can't I have your shoes? Yeah, your shoes are too small. They wouldn't fit. So practically, you said no, but you can't say no. So now what do? You say, well, okay, Father Jeff has big feet. You can't have my shoes, but why don't you check out the shoe store? Well, there you go. That's a solution. Thank you. All right? Now, I was in the hospital, nearest where the towers fell. I got to work in the hospital where the firefighters and fire ladies were being brought in. Because when the second tower collapsed, some of the firefighters in that tower got out. And they were being brought to the hospital. And so I got to work there. My job was to take their boots off. Give me your boots, give me your boots, give me your boots! Okay? Not because I wanted to wear them, plum, 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 but because without boots on, the cold are cold. They could not go back to the towers. They wanted to help. They wanted to go back and help their buddies. But without boots, I can't go anywhere. My job was to take their boots off. So in the hospital, there was another priest, looked like me, except he lost his collar. This is like, my dad used to wear a tie every day at work. This is a lot easier to put on. This little collar here shows that I'm a priest. And some Lutheran ministers wear them also. But this collar, if you look, it's just a piece of plastic. That's all, nothing fancy. A piece of plastic. You put that on, you're good to go. Now, a priest was there who lost his collar. Oh! And he said to me, Father, do you have a second collar, an extra one? Now, normally, yes. Yeah. Because we're losing them all the time. We have extra ones. But not this day. I only have one collar. And if I gave it to him, you got to remember, you can't say no. If I gave him a collar, would I have a collar? No! So, what are we going to do? What are we going to think of this? We have one collar, two priests, and we can't say no. What are we going to do? What? Cut it in half. Cut it in half. Cut it in half. It took us a minute to think of this. But that's exactly what we did. We cut it in half. This is the very collar that I was wearing that day. Okay? Still got the dust on it from the day from the towers. We cut it in half. So I got half, and he got half. And then we could both stay and help in the hospital. So there is a solution. Now, normally, if he would ask me, do I have a collar? I would say no, and he would say, well, thanks anyway. But this was not normal. Now, it did not take two big towers falling down, killing a lot of people, to make it necessary for you to think of solutions in your own communities. Sometimes there's a need that your neighbor needs, and you may be able to help, or think of a solution that will help them. So never say, oh, I'm a kid, or never say no, because there is a solution that you can help us. Now, what about a group of heroes at the tower when they fell were not people. They were not people. The greatest helpers at the tower were not people, they were dogs. Now, a dog has a very powerful nose. They can smell things humans cannot smell. And some of the dogs are trained to help find people who are missing, like out in the woods, or a little kid that gets lost. The dog will start smelling and pick up, oh, I don't know, your stinky feet. Oh, she went this way, he went this way. A dog can smell where a person is. And so, with all the dust and the dirt and he's putting his feet in anything, they could bring the dogs. And they brought in the dogs. And they sent the dogs in. The dogs went in. The dogs came out. What's the problem? Get in there. And they came out again. Well, the ground was so hot. Have you ever walked around the beach with your bare feet? All right? Well, imagine all these dogs doing the beach dance. Right? So what are we going to do? Well, somebody had a solution. They called for help. What did they do? What do you think the people thought of? They made shoes for the dogs. They made leather shoes. People from the city, regular people. They put the color up. The dog made shoes. And so people showed up to work with leather, and they made little shoes, little booties for these dogs, so they could go back in there. Thank you very much. Okay. So there are solutions. And it doesn't take a professional to think that anybody can think of a solution to help your neighbor. Most important thing, right? All right, now. In the smoke. The firefighters were trying to bring people out of the smoke. Very, very thick. Couldn't see a thing. And he couldn't talk because of the dust was getting into your lungs. So you would feel around in the dust. And you would just feel around until you felt something soft. Is this soft? No. Oh, there's no soft head here. No, not one. Do you have a soft head? All right. Well, the firefighter would grab you. They would say, oh, here's a person. And they would bring them out of the smoke. But you had to go over girders, under smashed cars. You couldn't see where you were going. And you couldn't talk. You just grab somebody and you wrestle with them. To get them out of there. Well, one firefighter grabbed somebody. And got him out of the smoke. And the firefighter looked at the other one and went, hey, you're a firefighter too. He rescued his own guy. And they looked at each other and went back in, okay, to find somebody else to rescue. And so nobody was afraid, even though it was very, 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 very scary. Okay? Very scary. No one was afraid. Because our neighbor needed help. Okay? We can't know everybody in the world, but we're all neighbors. And so we help each other. And so every year, those firehouses in New York, they have an open house. They celebrate 9/11 as we go down. And they remember those in the firehouse who died. They also remember the strength that they had as a community and how they continue to help one another. And so it's been 20 years, a long time. And this will be part of our history forever. And so just because you weren't even born then, this is still touching you. And you will be a 9/11 generation because it all connects all of us. So the way we do things today is different than 20 years ago. Even the way we get to be on an airplane. But there's other ways in which we're different. Because one of the reasons that we got hit was because some of the world was mad at us. So mad that they wanted to hit us. So we learned to listen. Why are you mad? Well, because you made me mad. Well, how do I make you mad? And not to say that they had a good reason for putting planes into our building. Absolutely not. But one thing we learned was, why wait to get hit by somebody? We need to pay attention. Listen to our neighbor. Something's the matter. Can I help? Why are you upset? Why are you mad? And when we start to do this, we discover that, no, I don't need to hit anybody. I've learned to listen. I've learned to respond. Or to at least show I care. Even if I might have to say no. So these are easy lessons for even youngsters like yourself to learn. All right. Now, it was 15 years after the towers fell, 15 years before I could go back to the top of the new tower and keep my appointment. Very, 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 very tough. So if you ever go to New York, when you go to New York, it's a beautiful place, a memorial on the plaza. You can go up the towers, look at all of New York, all the little buildings below you. And you see the Statue of Liberty, all those things are open for us. So it doesn't matter if you're from Brooklyn, New York, the Bronx, or from Bertha. It doesn't matter where you live, right? You're a part of a community, and in a community, we help each other. So what I did in New York wasn't because of New York, it was because I'm from Minnesota. I'm your neighbor in the next county. So you helped me become the helper I became. And you're going to be good helpers too. So how many fire ladies do we have in here? What do we fire lady? Or a medical technician, ambulance driver. Oh, it's going to be an ambulance driver. We'll get this to the siren. All right. Now, am I keeping anybody out of math class? No. All right. My sister is a teacher, fourth grade, and one of her favorite subjects to teach is mathematics. I think our time is well, all right, so, all right. Bye.
Thank you.
Wait, I don't know if we have. We might have.